today I'm not speaking Slovak, I'm speaking English because for the first time ever, instead of telling you a story, I'm going to do an actual lesson in which I explain things and talk about grammar and words. Namely, I want to talk about these three words, VEĽKý, VEĽA and VEĽMI. They are all super common words in Slovak, but unfortunately they all sound really similar. So many students get them mixed up or ask me about the difference between these words. Here is a little outline of what I want to do in this video. First, I want to tell you super briefly what each of the words mean. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about grammar and tell you about some potential complications that you might run into. And finally, I want to give you a mnemonic device which will hopefully help you remember which word is which. So let's get started. And first, I'm just going to write down the English translations for each of these words. So VEĽKý means big, VEĽA means lots, or we can say many or much. We don't have a distinction between these two in Slovak. We just use VEĽA for both. And finally, VEĽMI means very. So, as you can see from the English translations, these are three completely separate words. I think that for many people, the problem with Slovak is that Slovak is a highly inflected language, which means that a lot of the words appear with a lot of different endings depending on different cases and such. And I know that a lot of students, and this is completely fine by the way, a lot of students don't even pay attention to the ending of the words. They only focus on the first part of the words, and that's where they get the meaning from. But that's normal when you're learning Slovak, it's fine. So I think that might be the reason why so many students get these words mixed up. And I think for many of you, this is already enough and you can skip the next section of this video, because maybe it's enough just knowing that these are three separate words with these meanings and not just one word in different cases with different case endings. They just happen to sound similar. Although it's interesting because the meanings are in a sense similar too, because all three of them mean something, something to do with abundance. So let's look at each of these words individually. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about grammar, and you do need a little bit of prior knowledge, but no super advanced linguistics or anything like that. So first we have VEĽKý, big. VEĽKý is an adjective, and that means that it modifies nouns. So for example, VEľký dom. VEľký dom means big house. VEľký is an adjective and dom is a noun. Tu je veľký dom. Also, being an adjective means that it will have different endings depending on different grammatical categories, such as gender, number, case. And this is the form that you will find in a dictionary, the masculine form. For example, in veľký dom. Dom is masculine, so it's going to be veľký dom. But, for example, big family is going to be veľká rodina, with a ending, because rodina is feminine. Or big city is going to be veľké mesto, because city is neuter. This is the neuter ending. And of course, there are going to be also different endings, for example, for different cases. That's exactly what I was just talking about. But the good news is that only VEľký declines and has all these endings. VEĽA and VEĽMI don't decline, they stay the same. So let's look at VEľA. VEľA is a numeral / adverb. In English, I guess we would call it a quantifier, but in Slovak we normally call it a numeral. And that might be weird because when you think of numerals, you think about numbers like 1, 2, 3, but this is what we call indefinite numeral in Slovak terminology. In any case, it expresses quantity and it can modify either verbs or nouns. So, verbs or nouns. For example, verbs veľa študujem. Veľa študujem means I study a lot. And for nouns, we can say veľa domov. Veľa domov means many houses, lots of houses. So we know the quantity of the houses, there's many, but we don't know whether they're big or small or what, just how many they are. Here you can see this of ending. This is the genitive plural ending. So after veľa, the noun is going to be in genitive. You know how I said that only VEĽKý declines and veľa doesn't? That's true, but there's another thing that we can do with veľa. We can make comparative and superlative. So that would be viac and najviac. You can see that these are irregular. Viac means more and najviac means the most. So for example, veľa študujem, ale ty študuješ viac. Or veľa domov, toto je veľa domov. Toto je veľa domov a toto je viac domov. Also from VEĽKý we can make comparative and superlative. It's going to be väčší and najväčší. These are also irregular. So väčší means bigger a najväčší the biggest. Hey? Veľký dom, väčší dom, najväčší dom. And of course, these are going to take different endings depending on different grammatical categories as well. Next up is VEĽMI. VEĽMI is an adverb and it can modify 3 different types of words. It can modify verbs, adjectives, and other adverbs. So verbs, for example, veľmi milujem čokoládu. I really love chocolate. I love chocolate a lot. Okay. Adjectives. Veľmi dobrá čokoláda. Veľmi dobrá čokoláda is very good chocolate. And adverbs, for example, veľmi rýchlo, very quickly. You can see that both veľa and veľmi can modify verbs, but these tend to be different types of verbs. Veľa usually modifies verbs that express actions, like veľa študujem, I study a lot, veľa hovorím, I talk a lot, veľa cestujem, I travel a lot. So these express actions, while veľmi usually modifies verbs that express attitudes, like veľmi milujem, I love a lot, I really love. Or veľmi sa teším, I'm very happy. Or veľmi chcem, I really want. It's quite rare, but with some verbs you can use either veľa or veľmi with slightly different meanings. So for example, the verb prší, it rains or it's raining, you can say veľa prší, meaning that it's been raining every day for a whole week, for several hours a day. And veľmi prší means not necessarily how long it's been raining, but it's more about the intensity of the rain. It's not a drizzle, it's a huge rain. So veľa in that case expresses quantity and veľmi expresses intensity. You know what's fun and potentially confusing? The fact that veľmi can modify adjectives and adverbs means that it can modify VEĽKý and VEĽA because they are adjective and adverb respectively. So we can have fun combinations like veľmi veľký dom, very big house, or veľmi veľa domov, a whole lot of houses, veľmi veľa domov. And we have the ultimate combo, veľmi veľa, veľmi veľkých domov. Very many, very big houses. So the last one I said, that's quite extreme, but veľmi veľa and veľmi veľký come up quite often. So when you see that, don't worry, that's normal in Slovak. That's everything that I wanted to say about grammar and potential complications. And the last thing that I want to share with you is a mnemonic device that will help you remember which word is which. But before I do that, I just want to say that more useful than any mnemonic device or any grammar explanation is to just listen to a lot of comprehensible Slovak and encounter these words many times in context. That's what's actually going to help you master them. That's why normally I make stories rather than grammar videos, because that's what's more useful for your learning. And for these three words specifically, VEĽKY, VEĽA and VEĽMI, whatever you are reading or listening to in Slovak, these words are going to come up a lot. Did you know that VEĽKY is the most frequent adjective in the Slovak language? Yeah, the most frequent one in all of Slovak language, and VEĽA is the second most common numeral, and VEљMI the second most common adjective. So basically, you cannot avoid these words. So let's do the mnemonic. Veľká kačka veľmi miluje veľa ananásov. The big duck really loves many pineapples. And what makes it easy to remember is veľká kačka veľmi miluje veľa ananásov. So this is just something weird that my brain came up with, and please, if you have a better one, let me know in the comments. As I said, the best way for you to master these words is to listen to a lot of comprehensible input. And as I said, these words are such high frequency that they come up in literally every single story that I make. But just to make sure, I will put here some stories that have them come up particularly often so that you can practice. Okay, that's it. I hope this was useful. Čaute.